Well, congrats, guys, on the Burning season. How excited are you guys to be bringing it to the 20th edition of the Glasgow Film Festival?
Sarah, you're the most excited, aren't you?
I'm the most excited. I've never been to Scotland. These guys have been with several films.
Just one
I'm
film.
so
Just
happy.
one film.
Just one film. A few for Jonas, I think, right?
It's my fourth time coming to Glasgow, so I'm as excited. I'm as excited this time as I was the first time. I'll keep coming back as long as they'll have me. I love it. Sarah's particularly excited because I remember when I told her, "Oh, there's a chance you might be going to Glasgow." She's see how lit up she is right now. That's the look in her eye. But it's amazing, Tom. As you know, it's a great festival. Having been there, with three previous films, audiences are amazing. The festival programming clearly has great taste, and the city is enchanting, and the people and the food and the sightseeing and everything. It's just a great energy and a lovely place to launch. We've only played in Canada, so it's our international premiere and. It's a world-class festival, great audiences and great press. So it's a lot of fun.
Do you guys get nervous showing a film at a festival? When you're there and you're seeing a live audience react, to particular scenes or, particular moments that you think will be, happening or funny?
I am not, only because I spend a lot of time whenever I do a film in the edit test screening it, and I test screen it and test screen it and test screen it and test screen it and use the response from those test screenings to craft the, hopefully the reactions that I want the audience to be having. And so, unlike a play where anything can happen, in a film, really nothing can happen outside of what's on the, it's right. It's the film is the film. And so audiences either like it or they don't. I am rarely nervous showing a film. I had a parallel career as a musician, much more fear there.
Yeah, you're front and center. People are staring at you in that stage as a musician. So at least in a cinema, you can hide in the dark and.
That's right. You can leave if people hate it.
I think it's a fun experiment sometimes because I've done, I've only seen this film with an audience once, and I'm excited to do so again because it is interesting sometimes to hear how differently audiences can react to, it really can be, it is like an interesting social experiment to me. It's like, oh wow, they're really feeling that moment when that audience didn't so much. It is really fun to still get some variance. Yeah, I'm excited.
Jonas and Sean, you guys are again working together. Does that get easier with each movie?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've referred. One of the movies that we did back in the ancient days of DVDs, when we used to have that cool behind the scenes documentary that all of us film geeks used to go watch right away. I remember there was a behind the scenes that got done for one of the movies that we did. And the guy was kind of hanging around as I was giving direction to Jonas after a take. And it kind of went something like this. He finished the take and he came off. And I was like, oh yeah, you should do that. And he's like, right. The part where I'm like, yeah, except more like he's like, I was like, exactly. And then he was like, great, let's go. And he went up and we did another take. But I think that speaks to the more often that we work together, the more we, have a vision of what it is we want the film to be. And, when you even work on one film with a person, like with Sara, very quickly, we both understood what film it was we were making and what we wanted to do with these characters. With Jonas now 7 films, there's not much that we discuss on set. Like we both kind of have a vision of how we want it to go, and he knows when he didn't hit it, or when he hit it or when he did it in a way that opened a door to something kind of unexpected. And so it's almost more just like a confirmation when we have a little director actor chat at the end of a take.
And we're usually chasing the same thing. I mean, it's very rare that we don't see eye to eye on what should be happening in a particular moment or beat or scene. And we have the advantage because we're good friends. We spend a lot of time in prep talking about it, unpacking it, scrutinizing it, poking holes in it, exploring it. So by the time we're there, we're pretty much aligned. Now, I also produce some of these movies. So the producer-director relationship, I don't know, maybe that's become easier too, but that one's always the more contentious, because obviously there's, but it's obviously you don't make 7 movies together unless you're feeling good about what you're doing or enjoying, or we enjoy ourselves. So.
Now, I need to talk about that wedding scene. Little bit of carnage towards the end. What's the kind of craziest wedding experience you guys have had that you're allowed to share?
Oh. The craziest wedding experience that we've had that we're allowed to share.
No, I mean, my brothers gave a speech at my brothers. I don't know why I asked my brothers to speak at my wedding. They are not public speakers, and they're not funny. And so it was just a bad call on my part, but their speech was so uncomfortable, was so inappropriate and tone deaf and colorblind that let's just say it did not make its way into the final wedding video. There's a gap there where you're missing a speech. So I'm still reeling from that one. I don't know if anyone else has a bad wedding stories.
I've heard some. I think most of the weddings I've been at have been pretty. Things have been kept under. I've heard some things from people who know people that are like pretty shocking.
What, you can't tell us?
Well, I heard of one. God, I hope they're not listening. I truly, I guess I can tell the story because I have no idea where this story came from, but it is so bizarre, and it just involves the father of the bride walking her down the aisle at the moment of giving the old school way of giving the bride away. I think he gave her a big kiss on the mouth and looked at the groom and said, "Beat that."
Oh.
I have no idea who told me this story, someone who knew someone, but that's the craziest thing I've heard from a wedding.
That's terrible.
That's
right.
terrible.
It's pretty tragic. Yeah.
I lived in Japan for a number of years and went to a Japanese wedding. And I'm not sure how much of this is just cultural, because no one seemed as shocked as me about it. But the father of the bride got up to give a little toast speech, and his joke that he kept returning to because he wanted to get more laughs with it was something along the lines of, "Wow, you two really want this ceremony to be over fast. You can get to the hotel room and start to," and then he makes this horrible sexual gesture. And then he returned to it like again and again over the course of his speech. It was mortifying. Nobody else seemed mortified by it. So maybe there's something normal about that. He was a few drinks into the evening, but
Love it.
As a bystander, you love it, but
yeah, it's always a pleasure just watching the chaos unfold and people's faces just sink. Always a laugh. This film that they set in, this outdoor shoot is absolutely incredible. What was that like for you guys? I think it was shot in something like 20 odd days. It was a quick shoot.
Yeah, but it was amazing. We were up in Algonquin Park, which is one of the most beautiful places in Canada, and very remote and very untouched. It's a national park, and there's no or provincial park, and there's no restaurants or gas stations or hotels within the park itself. It's just beautifully clean, and so it was very much like being at summer camp. We were a small, tight group. We were sequestered, basically.
Did Jonas freeze for you guys?
Yeah, I think it was. Making a weird kind of kissing gesture.
We all were kind of living at this.
Oh, you might need to repeat your last sentence. Your last sentence. You just froze.
We were all living close together in this small town, and on the weekends we'd have a pint and there's music, everybody like a campfire jam and playing music together, and it was just kind of a lovely way to spend our September.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I miss it. I think of it so often. I miss the people who ran the tavern where we stayed. I miss everything about it. It was everything about the shoot was so beautiful. Yeah.
And I mean, if I can be a geek for a second, there was a lot of playing the scenes towards the sun or away from the sun, because there was a lot of contre-jour shooting, and we very quickly realized that our tiny little lighting package was really nothing compared to what the gods were giving us. And so Eric, the cinematographer, and myself kind of quickly changed the approach. We shot chapter 1 first, and we were kind of finding the look. But then as the film went on, we were like, yeah, let's really use the sun and make sure we're always shooting when it's setting or when it's rising, and play that. And there was a lovely thing with the green, because I mean, your backdrop is always green when you're doing that. And in the film, I was playing kind of reds and blues. And the interesting thing about green is that you can push it towards, like in the color correction, you can push it towards kind of a yellower green, kind of an autumn greenish, or you can put a bunch of cyan into it and make it kind of a more like computer screen green. And it was really lovely having that constant green backdrop and being able to play the color concept through this constant kind of carpet of green that we had behind us just all the time.
So, Sara, Jonas, you guys in this film, you've got your Chris Lumiere, you've got Natalie playing a younger version of yourselves. How much, and they were fantastic. How much did they help elevate your performance?
Do you mean did they help elevate our performance? I think they filmed last, so I think they came a little early and spent some time watching Sara and I and absorbed our energies, and so it all kind of comes together in this sort of alchemy. But we hadn't seen them perform when we were doing our stuff, so I really think they were kind of riffing off of what we were doing. But Sean cast it so brilliantly. He cast them because of their what they did in the auditions and their performance and what they brought. He didn't care about resemblances or energetic similarities. That all ended up being a happy accident, that they that they looked like us and that they had the same sort of energetic sort of vibe as us. But they're my favorite part of the movie. I love watching them do their thing.
I also love watching them. They're great actors. They're great people. It was so wonderful to have a chance to actually be with them on set, even though Jonas and I aren't in their chapter of the film at all. Just there were a couple of days where we got to spend time with them. And I remember, it would be so fun, even if we would drive up in a vehicle and they'd be sitting outside, at one of our 2 or 3 picnic tables we'd hang out at, in this beautiful little town that we stayed in. And it would just kind of, I think it was such a happy thing for us to see them spending time together. And I think that probably informed us too, just having these like bright young actors around these old chestnuts over here. It was just really lovely to have them around. Yeah.
And for you, Jonas, it's kind of come full circle in a way. You've had Christian play a younger version of yourself. You've had Daniel Stern play an older version of yourself. Is that kind of surreal?
Never thought about that. Thank you, Thomas. This is the advantage of speaking to the same journalist, over the course of several years. Yeah, I full circle for sure. I guess now I got to bring Daniel Stern back and Christian Muir back, and we'll do another movie where it's just the 3 of us playing various versions of me. That sounded very narcissistic.
Sean can direct as well.
Be honored.
I hope the whole premise of this is, or part of the premise is kind of summer love. How much of your own kind of personal experiences, helped inform your performance, minus the illicit affair aspect?
Well, I've had some experiences, certainly in my younger years, where I had very intense romantic experiences with people. Usually, like I went to Europe for 7 weeks and fell in love with someone and had like a wild, passionate affair, and then it was over. And So I am drawing a bit from that. Of course, this is very different in the film, and it's rooted in the sort of trauma bond and sort of the sort of darkness that is seated. So for me, you know, as the writer and as the actor, this is very different from my experience, you know, in life. I'm not a person that thrives off that sort of darkness. I'm a pretty light, happy dude. I'm happy to say, but it was a lot of fun to dig into it and try to find the places in my own life where there was intersections that I could draw from, and that passion. Certainly, I could relate to you know, someone driven by a passion that doesn't see logically. You know, I think making movies is very much that way. It's like, why am I compelled to do this madness time and time again? I can't stop myself. You know, there's a compulsion. I'm compelled to do it. So, but it's always, you know, part of the fun of acting is trying to find where in your life you can pull, you know, emotionality or, you know, that realism from.
I think I'm also generally a light, happy dude, typically. But I've certainly, yeah, I agree with so much of what Jonas is saying, of just understanding, you know, moments in life where it just feels like, oh my God, I'm being so pulled by this thing, or I can't stop thinking about this thing or this person or this career choice, which I love so much being an actor. I love it, and I have definitely dashed my heart upon the rocks a few times for it, like whether in the pursuit of it, but also in the doing of it sometimes. And I'm not like a method actor or anything, but just the act of doing it and getting to know a group of people so intimately, so quickly. We fly all over the world if we're lucky enough. It's, you know, it's such it really opens you up. And I think these people, these characters have just been like, well, they've been split wide open by this trauma bond that Jonas is talking about. And so I think we just pull from all of those things. I think we've all had a moment of like, uh-oh, like whether it's a thing, a person, whatever, like, ooh, this has gotten under my skin. So it's like sort of taking that feeling and really shaping it to these circumstances, which was, you know, just a great script and actors and director to do that with. Everybody was so on board to kind of like really dig into the crevices of this story, I think.
And one final question for you guys. There was one particular scene where Jonas, you defend boxed mac and cheese vehemently. Are there any particular foods in your house that you have to defend against your family?
Oh, that's a good question.
Good.
I just want to ask you if you have one, Thomas. I feel like you do because you're asking that question. That's such a funny question.
Yeah, I've got a few. Like my wife hates like peanut butter. So
what?
Really? What?
So I've got a big tub of peanut butter, and when I eat it, I need to be in a different room because she hates it.
That's crazy. I will say that, like, I'm a healthy guy. I'm a bit of a foodie, and like I'm a bit obsessed with food, but I always just have appreciated McDonald's. It's like that's my guilty pleasure. Like I love McDonald's, and so does my wife, but we raised our kids very, very healthy. And so we had to live a lie. So for the first 10 years of their lives, they thought that McDonald's was disgusting, because anytime they would ask about it, we would say, oh, it's not even food. It's not real. It's disgusting. It's terrible. You'll never eat it. And then one day we just spontaneously decided we would pull the curtain back, and we were walking past the McDonald's, and my wife and I looked at each other and we said, it's time. Kids, we've been lying to you all along. McDonald's is delicious. And we brought them in, and they had McDonald's, and now it's become a family thing that, you know, twice a year we'll indulge and have McDonald's. So that's my guilty pleasure, I guess.
That's so sweet. Mine, weirdly, if I'm looking at a family one, is the boxed mac and cheese. Kraft Dinner, which is, that's Canadian, right? Kraft Dinner is the Canadian way of talking about. And my dad always loved it. And my mom, my mom has this incredible bit that she does about craft dinner. She did it the last time I saw them, where she like can almost work herself into like, she might just gag. Like it makes me laugh so hard, but she'll eat it. Like she will eat it maybe twice a year. And then she'll talk about it for like 3 months of being subjected to it. But it makes me laugh so hard because I'm somewhere in between. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I don't need it. Like, I think my dad really enjoys it. So mine is actually the same as in the film.
Sean, what's yours? I gotta know.
Yeah, I feel Sean's got a few secrets.
Mine is I when I was in high school, I lived in India, and I'm just my comfort food is like really highly processed, fast Indian food. And you can get it, at now they sell it in like regular grocery stores in Canada, but I used to have to go to like a special Indian grocery store. I guess it's for single Indian guys, not to be discriminatory, but like ready-made chana masala in a bag. You seen this? And you like put it in boiling water, and in 3 minutes you have like chana masala made by somebody in India who put it in the bag. And they have like malai kofta, like in pav bhaji, and like everything you could think of. And I just fill the cupboards with it. And my family is like, what is, like, when do you eat this? Why is it taking up all this space in our, and I'm like, maybe you'll go away. I don't know. Maybe you'll have a trip, like the two of you, and I won't be invited, and I'll have to survive for myself. But it's just a weakness and a comfort food.
Amazing.
That sounds like heaven to me, personally. That
Well,
sounds great.
now I will take this opportunity, Sean, to inform you of a little secret that I've had. And I like to take the cast and crew out for a special celebratory dinner. And in honor of your love of Indian food, our post-screening dinner after our premiere, I've booked us into the finest, cheapest Indian restaurant in all of Scotland. I did all this
Really?
Of
What's it
Glasgow
called?
restaurants. It's called Dakin Dahkin, and
Cool.
it's on all the lists of like the best Indian food, dirty and cheap and dirty, delicious Indian
Yay!
all of Glasgow. So
You get your own hot pot and you have to boil it in a bag yourself.
Yeah, you just get like a little totally. That's great.
It'll be, I think, a notch above that, but it's on everybody's list as like best restaurants in Glasgow. I'm so excited.
I am also excited. That's
Yay.
great.
It's going to be a life experience for you guys.
You bet.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck with the film's release, and enjoy Glasgow.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
as
you,
always.
Thomas.
Lovely
Yeah, hope to
talking
see you
to
there, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey You Guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey You Guys!